Hey, what's up? This is Ben Limpic. I'm hanging out with Nick Bianco at Good Grief Media.
Cool. All right, so we are here with Ben Limpic. It's really exciting to talk to you. I know that I reviewed I reviewed your music video maybe what was that like a couple weeks ago, Love Don't Want Me. Yeah, definitely.
I really appreciate it.
No, of course. This is it's weird times, but I was more than happy to do it. It's a very cool music video, very inventive. I hadn't seen anything like it in a long time.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super weird. I really like stuff that Bon Iver does for their music videos, which
Mhm.
is super strange.
Yeah.
And so I just was trying to make something that felt, like artistic and like, seemed like I worked on it, but also, wasn't so serious as like a music video would be. It's kind of hard with indie rock to like make a music video that isn't so like indulgent or like, look how sad I am.
Mhm.
It's just a hard thing to get over in indie rock to make a good video that doesn't have some of that subject matter. And to me, that comes off lame. So that's why I'm trying to do other stuff.
No, absolutely. And I think that was a big thing that at least came across for me was that this song I read, I think there was like a press release about it basically saying that that was sort of touching on how you were trying to, I guess, shop your music around to different labels. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how much truth there is to that, but it was a,
It's yeah.
yeah.
I wrote that song after I got rejected from a development deal with
Mhm.
a person who had worked with John Mayer,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
so I was like, well, fuck that. I can write John Mayer songs, and so I was like, all right, well, I'll try to. So I wrote "Love Don't Want Me," because
Okay.
it's kind of a riff-based song, and I thought that was like a little bit of a John Mayer thing. But other than that, it kind of goes elsewhere.
Absolutely. Did you find any connection between the actual music video and the subject of the song? Was there any sort of bridge between the two, or was it just
Well, it's
visuals?
complicated, right? Because that's
Mhm.
what started the idea was like, okay, I can write a John Mayer song. That's like what
Mhm.
made me write a song, right? But
Yeah.
but that's as far as that part went. Like after that, the subject matter became pretty personal. Like I lived in a place called San Luis Obispo, and I'm
Mhm.
from San Diego, and I was up there for 2 years, and it just wasn't that cool for me living there. I was like having a lot of trouble emotionally and like drinking problems and stuff,
Mhm.
and so um, I just felt like kind of not valuable, really. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like I
Mhm.
knew I just was fucking up so much, and like, and not even in big ways. I just didn't have very I was suffering with some pretty serious depression that was untreated, and I wasn't making as much progress in my life as I wanted to, and so it was a time where I was just like, man, like I'm really like coming up on the end of my rope in a lot of ways on different levels, and so that's kind of where it comes from, that song.
Definitely. And so you said that you were touching on like how you're dealing with depression and whatnot. Do you find that like all of your music endeavors, not just Love Don't Want Me or Isabel, it's all been sort of a cathartic experience for you to do that, I guess?
um yeah, I mean, how do I say it? Like that kind of subject matter comes out when you're just trying to be real, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
when you're trying to write songs and stuff that like make you excited and feel good about making, and you want to feel earnest about it, right? Like sometimes those are bummed out songs because
Mhm.
you feel like you can be vulnerable in these raw ways because you feel, you can really attach to that emotionally and start working from there on a song. So
Definitely. And so tying it all back like to day one jumpstart, how did you get your start making music and sort of what acted as the catalyst to be like, I need to make music for you?
um when I was a kid, I played music in church. Like
Mhm.
my dad was a worship leader, and so at my little youth group, they're like, "Well, no one else's parents know how to play music, and yours does. In fact, he plays it here, so you're gonna learn."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Okay, fine." So then I learned to play and sing, just honestly because I got forced to. Like, and then after a while, I realized with a lot of progress, practice and progress, I was getting better. And then I
Okay.
was like, okay, I kind of want to do this for the rest of my life. So let's figure it out.
Definitely. Okay,
It
cool.
started like that. And then church gives you tons of time to get good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That it's the most live practice you're ever going to get,
Yeah, that's true.
because it's so frequent. And then there's rehearsals, and the stakes are low, but like every week it's like a shotgun situation where you're just trying to like, all right, here's 6 songs, like let's get them out there, like all
Yeah.
right, learn them really fast, play. So
Yeah.
it's just like a rigorous musical education kind of.
Yeah, and I guess it would get you to be comfortable playing in front of an audience rather quickly too. I mean, yeah, yeah. So, was there any single definitive moment as to like when you started making your own music that you felt that passion, I guess, ignite inside of you, or was it just a gradual process?
um well, I started making music because someone saw me playing at a church a long
Mm.
time ago. By the way, I feel so compelled to just say that I'm an atheist.
Okay, no, absolutely. I think yeah.
So anyway, back to
Mm.
what I was saying. I was playing at a church, and this band needed a singer, and they asked me to join their band, and they basically were like, "All right, like write the songs," and
Mm.
I was like, "Oh fuck!" And so I was like 16, probably 15 or 16,
Mm.
and so I just started doing it. Like I was like, okay, okay, I have to write songs. So I just started listening to like bands I really liked at the time, like As Cities Burn and
Okay.
um, oh god, I'm blanking on so many that I love. Anyway, that's a really good one. Um, you know, and just trying to write songs that were to me somewhat as cool as these songs I loved. And then from there, I was like, I started making my own music by myself and realized like, oh no, that's what I want to do. Like I want to do the whole thing.
Okay, definitely. And so over the past couple days, I'd been listening to, I guess, your discography, but just sort of the evolution of making music. And I've noticed that I was picking up themes from like, there's a band called Turnover that you might be familiar with them. It kind of gave me those vibes, a little bit of like Father John Misty here and there, and then a lot of like Bon Iver, that sort of thing. Who would you say are your biggest inspirations when it comes to making music, I guess? Obviously that changes, but as of right now.
Yeah, it changes a lot. It's hard, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't act it. I mean, I've been doing it a lot more as an adult, but like I haven't always been a super active searcher of new music. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have some very important music to me in my life that influences a lot of stuff, and that is a slowly shuffling catalog, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like stuff sticks around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned to sing from listening to The Used and
Okay.
from listening to Augustana.
Okay.
So like a
Definitely.
weird combo of that is how I learned to sing, and that was like when I was getting into my like, kind of post-hardcore music stage into
Mm-hmm.
like more rocky indie rock, which was like my band Gates, which is
Okay.
a little more emotional indie rock. And then from there I kind of just went like I just always want to do different things. I like to put out music that I'm inspired to make. So like sticking to a genre or a kind of thing really sucks to me.
Yeah.
Like it's lame.
No, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, like
Hmm.
so I kind of switch it up. Every record I make, I'm just like I want to make something new, like and nice. And
Hmm.
like where I feel like I'm genuinely putting artistic effort into making something and that I'm doing my best job to try to make cool stuff.
Definitely. And so, what does your writing process look like? Again, like you've been saying, I guess it would change album to album, but just in a general sense, what does that look like?
Um, I write songs really fast usually.
Okay.
So typically, you know, an afternoon I'll have a whole song done
Wow.
in terms of like the underpinnings of everything how it's going to go for when I finally produce it for real.
Hmm. Okay.
Um and that's usually what it's like for me with songs. It's like a afternoon process.
Cool. Okay. And like I was saying, your whole discography just really ranges from different genre to different genre and sort of exploring different avenues. How do you know what avenue you want to explore next? Like you were saying, is that just something that you've been like, it's just how you feel and you just start writing in that style, or?
Yeah, and it also feels like an honesty thing sort of, right?
Mhm.
Like I want to make music that I like and
Yeah.
that I feel passionate about making. So if I just try to make, acoustic music all the time, which has its merits and I
Mhm.
like it and I like to perform a live acoustic a lot. Um, But if I just keep doing that, even though it's not exactly what I want to do all the time, then that's not like me making the stuff. I just don't think that anybody would resonate with stuff that I don't want to make.
No, absolutely, yeah, because it comes across as ingenuine, I guess.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
And plus, it's more fun to come to a blank page, literally, like without tools, and then be like, okay, like, what do I want to do here? And invent the whole process. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I'm never going to make a record again where I'm just like, oh, this is an indie rock record.
Mhm.
Like, from now on, it's going to be, Isabel is an indie rock record, and I like it a lot, and it's really great. But and I think it's fantastic and a good representation of where I'm at. But
Mhm.
from here on, I'm going to have a lot more diversity in there of what I'm doing.
Definitely. And do you write for all of the different instruments, or is it more of a collaborative experience with other musicians?
I mean, like for Isabel, for instance, I was in the
Mhm.
studio and I had a producer named Robert Adam Stevenson
Okay.
and Michael Blue, who I worked with.
Mhm.
And we, in terms of the instrumentation on the record, there's some different people playing things, but in terms of like the structure of the song and how everything goes, and most of, I write, let's put it this way, the songs are completely written by me. And
Mhm.
then like, if in the studio there's an idea that happens that someone else can play it easier than me, that's
Yeah.
cool. You
Okay,
know what I mean?
definitely. Yeah.
Like, so that's kind of how it works.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so
And
with
that normally comes
mhm.
down because of time, right? Like in a
Mhm.
studio, time is money. And
Yeah.
if somebody can play a riff, a cool ass riff, right?
Mhm.
That they just came up with right there, like, hey, here's a good idea. It
Mhm.
behooves you to be like, hey, you should go play that instead of being like, yo, teach me that riff and then I'll go play it.
Because
It's
that's all
like,
studio time. Yeah.
it's pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So,
absolutely.
and
And
especially at a certain caliber, like most things on an indie rock record, everyone can play.
mhm.
So, like, it's not a big deal,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And
Yeah.
so in Isabel, it seems like you wore your heart on your sleeve a lot. Was this a different or like a difficult experience for you to go through? Or again, was it more of just like a cathartic experience? How was the experience writing Isabel?
It's sort of split, right? It's kind of like there's an element of looking back in the record and an element of looking forward at the future. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not a very present record, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
like it's literally written in the time when I was getting married to my now
Okay.
wife. And so like I wrote it right before we were getting married.
Okay.
So I wrote 4 of the songs in the studio as I was working on 2 of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
We Don't Change and Love Don't Want Me
Mm-hmm.
were from like I'd written before the writing sessions. So I'd come up to work on those in the studio
Mm-hmm.
at Revolver Recordings in Thousand Oaks.
Okay.
And I'd stay the night and stuff quite a lot because I live in San Diego. And I'd come up with new songs, and then I'd want to work on those in the studio. So I wrote it. I wrote Isabel, 10 out of 10. Cumberland, I didn't write up there actually, but that was close to then. And then Your Heart Is a Piece of Paper, I wrote up there too.
Oh, cool. Okay. Definitely. And do you have a favorite? Actually, first off, is your now wife's name is Isabel? Is that what
Yeah,
okay, the album was named after? Okay.
yeah.
Um,
I didn't really think that wouldn't be obvious to people, but they don't
well,
live my life, so why the
yeah.
hell would they know that?
Yeah, I was curious about that, and then when you said you were writing it while you got married, I was like, oh, that totally checks out. That
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that song also, right? Like, um, it, you know, it has a line in it. I wish I didn't have to lose my mind to have a good time, and it's
Hmm.
like that's kind of lamenting the fact that like, hey, like, I can't I can't drink alcohol
Hmm.
or it's over, right? And
Hmm.
so like that's kind of what that lyric is literally about. Like, I wish and it was about a time when I was getting sober and I didn't know what to do with myself. Like I didn't know what adults did
Hmm.
in the evening if it
Yeah.
wasn't drinking.
I
And that
totally
and
get
so
that.
that was kind of like me lamenting that, like, shit, like I wish I knew how to have fun without being drunk. Like that's what
Hmm.
it really is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I got sober while I was with Isabel,
Okay.
and plenty of things. So it's looking back, that the record's looking back on like some serious depression I had and addiction problems and things like that. And then also looking forward to the fact that like I'm married and I'm with the person that I want to be with, for the rest of my life. And that's cool. And like, I'm, I have a lot of high hopes and aspirations for the future that I think the record like carries through,
Mm-hmm.
in those ways. So that, that's kind of, I just had a lot of shit I had to get out, I think.
Absolutely. No, so it seemed like it was as a cathartic experience, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Even though writing the songs doesn't quite feel like that to me. Writing songs
mhm.
feels like just like a frantic artistic process, very fast and like spewing stuff out and then linking it all together to make something, right? So the artistic process is very exciting, and like especially because most of it is driven by like, oh, I like this, let's keep going, this is cool, it's cool, this is cool, this is cool. It's very
Yeah.
exciting, right? And then you lay into it all the emotion, sometimes during, sometimes after. I usually do it at the same time. I write lyrics and melody and stuff kind of all at once.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it's like a freestyle. Imagine a freestyle rapper,
Mhm.
and I do a lot of free association in my writing too. Like, so I'll just like literally start with a random thing. Like, for instance, I don't know if I'm getting too granular about
No, no,
songwriting,
absolutely no.
but if, let's say, you're writing a song about a picnic, right, that you're at,
Okay.
okay, and there's some generic things about a picnic that we obviously don't want to talk about in the song
Mhm.
because that's lame.
Yeah.
But if you can think of something like there's a lady wearing an earring of a daisy that's gold and has a chain on it,
Mhm.
right? And you're writing about a picnic, and you can somehow link that detail from the picnic into your narrative of the song, somehow artistically. That's how it works. And that's how you create something interesting. You have to go from generic to super granular and then like make it interesting,
Yeah.
it's
Tying
not
it all
very
back.
hard. It's more just like with practice you learn to fill in those gaps more eloquently.
Okay. Definitely.
That's what I think songwriting is, because I think everybody can songwrite and I think everybody can sing too. It
Mhm.
just takes practice, and you just have to learn the basics and understand the principles of why people like certain things.
Mhm.
you know i i I wouldn't know how to do anything in terms of music or my career or my singing or anything if I didn't learn from people what they liked from me first.
Mhm.
I learned a lot about what they didn't like, right? And you have to make it through that part because that's
Mhm.
the beginning. And then from there, I learned a lot from what people did like and how to, experiment and lean into things. Sometimes you do things that are uncomfortable as an experiment to see how people respond,
Mhm.
and if they respond well to the uncomfortable thing you did, now you get to lean into that and like
Mhm.
have a new piece to your whole identity as an artist. So it I think it behooves people to be creative and spontaneous.
Definitely. Absolutely. I stand totally behind that. And again, if you don't want to talk about this, we can sort of skip over it. But do you do you think that getting sober has changed your creative process at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In a good way.
Hmm.
It's My writing, funnily enough, it's not a different process, because before I didn't like to write when I was fucked up,
Wow. Okay.
because it didn't work. Like, it
Hmm.
was just like, you know when you're if you're trying to write complex songs in the fashion that I'm trying to write them,
Hmm.
you kind of need your available mental faculties
Yeah. Absolutely.
to do it, right?
Hmm.
And but performing, mind you, you can do pretty fucking drunk and do a
Yeah.
good job. So there's a big difference there, right?
Yeah.
So no, my writing process didn't change, and the quality of my songs, I think, improved. What changed is I wasn't hung over every day of my life and in this like panicked um need to like prove myself to myself. When
Hmm.
you're not doing the things you're supposed to do, you you have to you have to prove a lot of things to yourself that are otherwise unnecessary if you were just doing normal shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had a pretty frantic and ineffective work ethic where I was very, very hardworking, but like not well thought out.
Huh.
You
That's
know, because
really
it was like
interesting.
a
Yeah.
response to my, inability to control my finances or my alcoholism or whatever. It was like,
Hmm.
fine, but I can work really hard and try to make something of myself at the same time.
Yeah. That totally
Um,
makes sense. Yeah. I've
yeah, and it
never thought
mushes it
about
up,
that.
right? Because
Hmm.
it makes you ineffective, and it makes you, many creative people have to work really hard to focus on one thing. It's
Hmm.
really, really hard
Hmm.
because plenty of things are interesting.
Hmm.
And so to focus on one thing and get good at it, that's just the main issue there.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. The whole piece that you were saying about having to sort of make excuses for yourself and your actions, I guess, like really, I don't know, I'd never thought about that before, but that really like sort of resonates. So that makes sense. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, because everybody wants to live up to their own ideal of themselves, right?
Hmm.
And we all have an ideal of ourself and what we expect of ourselves and what we're capable of.
Hmm.
And when you are regularly undermining that with your behavior,
Hmm.
you start to not believe the narrative you're telling yourself anymore about how how special you are and how
Yeah.
well thought out these ideas are and whatever, and you have to start proving to yourself, like, hey, I'm not so bad for drink. I don't drink as much as that guy, plus I get all this done.
Yeah.
And like you just have to start proving these pointless.
Things to yourself, to tell yourself, oh, I don't have a problem. I'm okay. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And so I guess, I mean, tying it back to Isabel, do you have a favorite track that you've written off of Isabel?
I think Isabel is the most interesting
Okay.
song
Definitely.
by far,
Okay.
like just in terms of it's a weird composition. It's different. I just
Hmm.
think that that song is pretty special. It's got a lot of strange things going on in it that, like, aren't happening in
Hmm.
normal stuff.
Yeah.
Um, like I went with a Beatles bent to a lot of the production choices I made
Okay.
um, on this record. In terms of, I'm like in love with like Yellow Submarine kind of cover art and like just those weird old 60s 70s cartoons that they used to do and stuff. I just think
Hmm.
that stuff is so cool, and like those old sound effects and things from shows that they did like that back in the day, they're really
Hmm.
cool. And so I like using instruments like that. So there's a tuba in places and like some strange things that people wouldn't normally use, but it's like cool because I'm trying to set a motif and an atmosphere of like you know it like just like where I want people to be able to think and imagine the stuff that they feel about the record all by themselves and
Hmm.
imagine it however they imagine it. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like I like the cartoon nature of stuff. I don't really particularly like the cartoon nature of like, I'm not trying to make music videos of cartoons, but
Yeah.
what I like is the cartoon nature of like that's kind of like how your imagination is and like I don't know. I felt
Hmm.
like those kind of songs make it more like an imaginary journey kind of experience.
Absolutely. And I think that looking at the album artwork and also the Love Don't Want Me music video and the, I don't know what you would call it, I guess the Spotify artwork, what plays in the background, this is a very visual album. By even the album cover, it's very colorful. Is that sort of tying back to what you were saying about having such a deep love for things like Yellow Submarine and something that's very vivid and like pops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean it's hard, right? Like to explain.
Hmm.
Like for instance, like I'm obsessed with primary colors. Like I think they're awesome. Like
Okay.
it's really normal, lame thing, but like I love muted primary colors. I think they're so cool. Like the 1970s logos and shit that always had those like or the cool like blankets or whatever that they have that kind of like gradient on like I,
Yeah.
I love design and I love you know, I think part of writing good songs, right, and descriptive songs is like having a love of lots of other things that give you ideas for stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Because you can't write good songs in a box,
Yeah.
you know.
No,
But
exactly.
if I learn to grow weed and I make paintings sometimes, and you know, I think hard about decorating my house for my wife so it's nice and things like that. Like there's all kinds of different creative endeavors like that that I can reference later in working on a song.
Definitely, definitely. And so I guess starting to wrap things up, what piece of advice do you have for any aspiring musicians out there?
Um, so being a musician is very hard, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no way around it.
Yeah.
And uh, it's hard if you're good, and it's hard if you're not good. But it is
Yeah.
less hard if you're good. So practice and learn to do what you want to do well. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not good at it yet, just maybe don't do it in public. Wait
Yeah.
a little while. Get good at it, and then go be around people that encourage you. But don't be afraid to be criticized, and don't be afraid to take. People want to teach people stuff a lot, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's good or bad. So ask people questions. If someone's a good singer that you like, be nice to them and ask them how they learn to sing. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, honestly, I think it's learning your body and how all this shit works and building up strong muscles through practicing. I would tell anybody to just listen to a song in the car, not a difficult song to sing, something that you're pretty capable of hanging in there on,
Mm-hmm.
and sing that song every day, once with it on and once with it off.
Wow. Okay.
So you'll listen, you'll sing with it, and you'll get the help of the song guiding you where you're going. You'll learn how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to turn the song off and you're going to sing it from memory, and you're going to try to sing with your notes in key and in reference to just the last note you sang, and just
Mm-hmm.
go from there.
Definitely.
It's
No, that
easy.
totally,
It
absolutely.
Here's the thing: if it was so hard to learn to sing, nobody would sing. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
tattoos. If they were so painful, no one would get them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like anything, it takes discipline. And if you put an hour a day into something, in a year you're going to be quite good at it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's like
Yeah.
anything else.
Absolutely. And I think that it's important also, and this was something that I had to learn over time, was that maybe you're listening to something and you really like it and you want to make something that sounds almost, I guess, like a carbon copy of it. I know that I do that when I get like obsessed with like a new song or whatever, but the thing is that everyone's different and everyone's brain works differently, and like you were saying, all of our bodies work differently. So it's important to find, I guess, sort of channel the sound or energy that you're going for, but turn it into something that you can do that you're proud of, that isn't just a carbon copy. Like I tried to rap for like a summer, and that, yeah.
Dude, try to make what you make.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, one of the things I try to not do is I don't, when I make a song, I'm certainly not thinking about sounding like anything. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that people have to put away. And if you can put that away, then you're just making something to make yourself impressed with
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Exactly.
And you'll do that. And sometimes you won't succeed, and that's okay. Don't try again that same day. You're out of juice. Try another day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And don't stop trying. And you will have a book of songs before you know it. It just requires coming up to sometimes coming up to the plate and doing nothing is
Mm-hmm.
better than not going to fucking the baseball court or whatever the fuck you say
Yeah.
about sports.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if you go to write a song and you just can't,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine and awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Draw a
At least
picture.
you tried. Yeah.
Do anything. Just
Mm-hmm.
make sure you sit there for like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
If you really can't write anything in an hour, that's okay. Do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's it. You'll be great.
Yeah.
But obviously you have to really want to do it. It takes time, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't pay. There's no money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you're doing, you know, pretty well, there's no money,
Yeah.
So don't get into it for that.
Yeah. No,
You
absolutely.
know,
And
and not to say that there's no money to be made, and I don't want to discourage people. There is
mhm,
money to be made, and you can work hard and earn it the same way,
mhm,
like other people do, but through your music.
mhm.
And it's just hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. And was
But
there
if you want to do it, you should do it. I encourage you to do it. In fact, you have to. How could you live with yourself if you don't fulfill some of these basic desires that you had? I mean, at
mhm,
least give it a try. You're only alive one time, as far as I can tell, and it's
yeah.
like it honestly is a big deal that you do the things that you want to do.
Mhm. No, it totally makes sense. Yeah. And I mean, I guess this sort of ties back to what we were just talking about, but is there anything that you wished the younger version of you would have known before you really sort of put all of your eggs into making music?
Hmm. No.
No,
I
okay.
mean, here's the thing. Um, Unfortunately, music gets less magical as you work on it,
Mhm.
and in the industry, which is a bummer
Mhm.
because it is magical, and it's very. There's something crazy about music that's different than anything else in the world, and um, the shine wears off the apple when you work in the industry too long. So there's some stuff where you try to not get jaded and let music be what it is and fun, and um, nobody knows what they're doing. I just told myself that
Mhm.
nobody, even
That's yeah.
especially the president. Like I'd have
Yeah.
told my younger self, shit's gonna get wild. Don't worry about it. Maybe pay more attention when Twitter and Instagram come out.
Mhm.
Get
Yeah.
better at that.
Mhm. The social media game. No.
Yeah, you got to do it. And
Mhm.
I'm not good at it. It is not a naturally. I'm not naturally good at my social media, and
Mhm.
so yet I'm an artist, right?
Yeah.
And so this might be something that it kind of illustrates the point I was talking about earlier with it being difficult and worth doing, if you want to.
Mhm.
I suck at social media on like a talent level. I have zero talent at it. I have to work very hard to learn how to do social media, even passively,
Mhm.
right? But that's my toll to get to play music, right? Like
Mhm.
I get to play music. And so my daily job that I make myself do is you need to have to work on your social media for an hour, like
Okay.
effectively,
Mhm.
like to earn it. Because if you're going to claim to be a musician and have that be your job, you kind of need to prove your worth and use
Mhm.
your time effectively, because nobody's going to hold your feet to the fire except for you. And so
Yeah.
you become very responsible for yourself, whether
Yeah.
you do that positively or negatively.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, I mean, this was really great to talk to you. This is the first time we actually met, but I hope to meet you in person whenever all of this
Dude,
COVID business is over. Yeah.
yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
We live in the same town, I believe.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, definitely. I'm out of San Diego also. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Good stuff, man. It was really good talking
Dude,
to you.
thank you so much. I'm really happy about this. Have a good
No,
one.
no problem, man. You too.